This is Shelley. You actually have a quorum if you would like to proceed.
Okay, I'll go ahead and get started then. If anyone's able, if you could reach out to Claudia, that would be helpful. Um, all right, let's get started. And Ricardo's here, right?
Yeah, I'm here, Ricardo.
Okay,
Gotcha.
perfect. I will take a roll call. I just can't see you on my screen, just making sure. Okay. Welcome to the January 8th, 2026 Communication and Public Education Committee meeting. My name is Nicole Thibault, chairperson of the committee. I would like to remind everyone present that the board is a consumer protection agency charged with administering and enforcing pharmacy law. Where protection of the public is inconsistent with other interests sought to be promoted, the protection of the public shall be paramount. As I facilitate this meeting, I will announce when we are accepting public comment. I have advised the meeting moderator to allot 3 minutes to each individual providing comments. Throughout the meeting at appropriate times, we will begin with public comments for individuals attending in person, followed by public comments by individuals participating via WebEx. I believe there's no members of the public in Sacramento, so we will skip it, but please let me know if anyone arrives. Thank you. This approach is necessary to facilitate this meeting. Before we get started, I would like to ask staff moderating the meeting to provide general instructions on the process for providing public comment via WebEx.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before we get started, I would like to remind board members and staff who are not speaking to mute their microphones during today's meeting. If background noise is detected as a result of unmuted microphones, I will mute those microphones. There are members of the public in the audience and meeting minutes are being taken, so we ask members and staff to please identify themselves before speaking. For purposes of today's meeting, when the chair opens public comment, members of the public who would like to provide public comment at the physical location can approach the table and microphone at the front of the room. For those joining us on WebEx, we will be utilizing the hand raise feature. So at the time that public comment is called for, simply click on the hand icon next to your name, or if you've called in, press *3. And after we have taken public comment from the Sacramento location, if we get any public attendees there, then we will call on those individuals requesting to comment through WebEx. And with that, I return the floor back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I would now like to take a roll call vote to establish a quorum. Renee Barker?
Good afternoon, licensee member present.
Thank you. Claudia Mercado?
Public board member present.
Thank you. Jay Newell, I believe, is not attending today. Ricardo Sanchez?
Present.
And I am here. A quorum has been established. I ask everyone participating today to be respectful of the work before the committee. We encourage participation by members of the public throughout our meetings at appropriate times. The committee
I
respectfully—
apologize. Ricardo, could you please turn on your camera? Thank you.
Thank you. Can we see everyone now? Sorry, I don't have all of us on our screen, so.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. We encourage participation by members of the public throughout our meetings at appropriate times. The committee respectfully requests that when comments are provided, they are done so in a professional manner consistent with how the committee conducts its business. Before we move to the next agenda item, I would also like to remind committee members participating via WebEx to please remain visible on camera throughout the open portion of today's meetings. Members, if you need to temporarily turn off your camera due to challenges with internet connectivity, please remember to announce the reason for your non-appearance when you turn off your camera. Next, I'm going to move on to agenda item 2. This is for public comment for items not on the agenda and matters for future meetings. Committee members, I want to make sure that you all received the written comment about a item for a future agenda meeting that was made at a previous meeting. It is not on our agenda for today, but wanted to let you all know that that will appear on a future agenda. Okay, great. I will now ask the moderator to open the line for individuals to provide public comment. You are not required to identify yourself, but may do so. I would like to remind everyone that the board cannot take action on these items except to decide whether to place an item on a future agenda. Members, following public comments for this agenda item, I will ask members to comment on what, if any, items should be placed on a future agenda. As a reminder, this agenda item is not intended to be a discussion, rather an opportunity for members of the committee and members of the public to request consideration of an item for future placement on an agenda, at which time discussion may occur. There's no one in Sacramento, so we are ready for public comment for individuals participating via WebEx.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If any member of the public would like to comment, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name, or if you've called in, pressing *3. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, this is the moderator. I see no request for public comment. Madam Chair, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you so much. Committee members, are there any items that you would like to raise to bring forth on a future agenda? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on.
Oh,
Oh, yes.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes, actually, it was your suggestion from the Enforcement and Compounding Committee meeting to possibly have a discussion about how to help inform the public about the value of a consult. Since we are looking at duty to consult and barriers, and I think one of them is just patients accepting a consult. So, however you want to word that, but yeah, so just increasing the awareness of the public about the benefits of a pharmacist consult.
Thank you very much. Yeah, great idea. I wasn't necessarily even thinking to bring it here, but yeah, this absolutely makes sense. Thank you.
It was your great idea. I wrote it down.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Seeing none, I will move on to agenda item 3. This is the approval of the June 12th, 2025 committee meeting minutes. Members, attachment 1 includes a copy of the draft minutes from the meeting. Members, do you have any question or comments on the draft minutes? I will also entertain a motion if you believe such action is appropriate.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Renee. Do we have a second?
I can second.
Thank you, Claudia. With a motion and a second on the floor, I will now open the discussion for public comment on the June 12th, 2025 draft minutes. There's no one in Sacramento, so we are ready for public comment from individuals participating via WebEx.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 3, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name, or if you've called in, pressing *3. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, this is the moderator. I see no request for comment at this time. Madam Chair, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. Members, is there any further discussion? I actually had a really quick question that I'll throw out. I've noticed that in different committees, the meeting minutes sometimes lists like the individual members who said something, and then one of the ones I saw recently, maybe it was the Enforcement Committee, just said members discussed whatever, and it didn't attribute them to an individual member. Is there a standard form that we're going to follow going forward? It was a little bit confusing for me to have the 2 different forms. I don't know if other people felt the same way.
Either format is legally sufficient, Nicole.
Okay, great. So maybe that's something that we could, if it doesn't bother anybody else, I can live with it, but I was just wondering if anyone else noticed or.
So Member Tebow, should it be
Yes.
helpful? So we do try to not have the minutes read like a transcript. So
Fair.
generally we're going to consolidate where sometimes the differentiation is where the chairperson is laying something out, kind of like setting the table. In the minutes, we will generally call out the chairpersons specifically because they're kind of setting the table, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's perfect. I think that reads really well. Thank you for clarifying. All right, Back to the June minutes, I will now take a roll call vote. Renee Barker.
Yes.
Thank you. Claudia Mercado.
Yes.
Ricardo Sanchez.
Yes.
And I vote yes, the motion passes. We can move on to agenda item 4. Members, our next agenda item is education materials on buprenorphine. You may remember at our June committee meeting, we reviewed the draft version of the educational materials and provided feedback to staff. Since our last meeting, staff have made updates based on this feedback. For some background information, you may recall during the February 6, 2025 board meeting, the board received a presentation from representatives of the California Bridge program that discussed challenges some patients experience when prescribed buprenorphine for treatment of opioid use disorder. During this discussion, the board referred development of educational meetings to our committee. As noted during prior discussions on this topic, while buprenorphine is an opioid medication, because of its unique properties and intended use, pharmacists should consider such prescriptions differently when exercising their corresponding responsibility. As we learned during the presentation and discussion during the meeting, doctors and healthcare advocates described instances where patients were denied prescriptions. As pharmacists, it is incumbent on us as healthcare providers to meet legal obligations, including corresponding responsibility, which encompasses evaluation of a patient's specific patient's clinical picture. This can be tricky, especially given as dispensing pharmacists, we many times have limited access to information. Members, I would like to confirm that everyone received the updated version of the information. The updated version was provided on January 6th and posted on the website. This updated version includes recommendation from a pharmacist with expertise in the area. I appreciate the additional changes made to the educational materials and the recommendations received from an expert. I believe the changes are appropriate. As a reminder, this informational sheet will be sent out to licensees through the board subscriber alert. It will be included in future newsletters and posted on the board's website. Members, do you have comments? I wanted to say that I really liked the attachment, the link to the resource. I found it very thorough, and it laid out a lot of specific instances, like what if the prescriber is a long way away from your pharmacy? What if they need an early refill? Some of those barriers to care. And I found that resource to be particularly helpful. I believe it was called the Pharma OUD link.
Yeah, this is Renee. I have to say thank you for the pharmacist who took the time to update it, because it was it's excellent. So
Yes.
to scrap my suggestions. And yes, the link is extremely helpful. So I think it's a really great reference.
Perfect. All right, any other comments? Okay. Seeing none, we will now open for public comment. Still no one in Sacramento, so moderator, we are ready for public comment from individuals participating via WebEx.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If any member of the public would like to comment, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name, or if called in, pressing *3. We are displaying instructions and will give you a moment. All right, this is the moderator. I see no requests for comment. Madam Chair, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. I'll now bring the discussion back to members. Do you all have any final comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll move on to the next agenda item. We are now on to agenda item 5, the federal 3-day rule outreach implementation, and you can find the materials in attachment 3. As included in the meeting materials, Business and Professions Code Section 750 requires each board that licenses a prescriber to develop informational and educational materials regarding the federal 3-day rule. The purpose of the law is to increase prescriber awareness of existing medication-assisted treatment pathways to serve patients with a substance use disorder. The Department of Consumer Affairs provided materials for distribution by all healing arts boards by December 31st, 2025. Staff posted the material on the website and sent out a subscriber alert to licensees. To stay in compliance, the 3-day rule materials will be released every year. These materials are being brought to the committee for members to review and determine if any edits should be made for future release. Members, do you have any comments? No, I'm seeing none. I think it's great that it's going to be sent out every year. I think it's a helpful reminder to have because it's not a situation that comes up super often, but it's one that you definitely want to be aware of if and when the situation happens. So seeing no other comments from members, we can move to WebEx for public comment, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If any member of the public would like to comment, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name or pressing *3 if you've called in. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, this is a moderator. I see no request for comment. Madam Chair, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you so much. Committee members, any final comments or thoughts? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to the next agenda item. This is agenda item 6, the master calendar of public education campaigns. The committee has several strategic objectives related to its goal area of the board strategic plan. To ensure such objectives are met and to receive committee feedback on proposed activities, staff has developed a master calendar to include dates and tasks for the 2026 year. The calendar is included in attachment 4. The calendar is intended as a living document and provides the committee with some of the items the staff will be working on for 2026. Members, I appreciate that the calendar highlights annual events such as National Consumer Protection Week, where the board can promote messaging relevant to the topic and leverage the work of our organizations where appropriate to expand the board's reach. I look forward to the various campaigns that will be released and would like to request that committee members receive copies of the messaging released. Members, I welcome your comments on the calendar. Include any recommendations you may have for additional events or initiatives that may be appropriate for us to consider. I wanted to bring up, oh, Claudia, go ahead, go first.
Yes. Are we also doing outreach to like schools, like any trade events? I don't think I see it here. These are just educational. Let me see. Let me make sure I'm saying the right thing. This is
So,
just our communication out, right? So this is just for the general public.
yes, and just really quickly, should it be helpful information? We do outreach to the schools, all of the schools on an annual basis, both as a precursor to starting the school year for new students, as well as graduation season approaches.
Great. Should we add that to like the things that we do just to make it clear that we're doing that kind of outreach, or is it just like a given?
Hi, Claudia. Yes, this is Sarah. I can put it on our calendar so you can see which months we do that.
That'd be good. I think for people even listening, I think if they wanted to get involved or connect with staff, because you guys do that in person, is that correct?
It's virtual.
Oh, virtual. Okay, got it. Okay, well, thank you. That's all.
Thanks, Claudia. I was going to raise, I know that we put all of the new laws for the upcoming year. We just did it in the script. So I know we put those out there, but I thought it might be helpful if we could have, and we send subscriber alerts on like individual new laws that are coming up. But I thought it might be helpful if we have like a 1-pager that has the new laws that are going into effect that we send out or link to as part of a subscriber alert, if that would be. I know we have it in other places, but I think having it in one spot would be very helpful if that's possible. Any other comments from committee?
Nicole, just to clarify, so you're saying like every year there's new laws that are coming in, just having people be alerted on any changes on that particular item?
So as of right now, we have our newsletter, the script, and that will the one towards the end of the year. So this one we just did in November featured like the changes to the law that are coming up for January, but there's a lot of other information in there. And then we also, as the pharmacists and technicians, we get the email alerts to it, but they tend to come individually, like here's this one law, and then here's another email about this one. So I was just saying, if maybe there's
Oh, I
just
see.
a one place that you can, if you wanted to reference, you could
I
look and
see.
find it.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. Thank you.
So this is Anne. Do you mind that I'm just asking a clarifying question, Nicole?
Please do.
So we already have on the website the breakdown of the new laws where we show where the changes are. In
Perfect.
your mind, do you feel like adding like a supplemental page to that has the different bills so people could click on the bill to see the bill language itself? Is that like, I'm trying to just get a little bit more of
Sure.
an understanding of your vision, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the page already existing, then I guess what I would ask for is maybe when we're sending out like an individual law change and as a subscriber alert, there's a link that says you can see all the law changes here or something, just like a place that people, when they're triggered to think about a law change, they can go and see what they all are in one place.
Got it. Thank you very much. Super helpful.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Uh,
Okay, I
Maybe
think
wanted to add
yeah.
something else because it kind of triggers something for me. So in that page too, I know that we make it really accessible for people to call us, but definitely, I think that could be a good opportunity for us to collect feedback. You know, any additional help or questions, contact us. I'm sure that's already in place, Anne, but will that add any value if you want to like learn more about these bills and how it impacts your license?
So we could potentially, so we have to be careful because we don't provide legal
Advice. That's
advice or
right.
anything else. We could potentially, I don't think that we currently have a link to the Ask Inspector program. And so we could potentially consider adding a link to the Ask Inspector. Again, we're very clear that we cannot provide legal advice or anything, but we can point them to a resource that may help them.
Yeah,
So
I
we
think
could
that's great.
we could add the link to the Ask Inspector, I think, in there as well. If I'm understanding what
Mm-hmm.
you guys are suggesting, that seems like an easy thing that we could do.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. It's like a 1-2 step. Like, here's the information. You can take a step further, talk to the inspector. We don't provide legal counsel. That's great.
Good suggestion, Claudia. Thank you. Any other comment from committee members? All right, I think we can move to public comment. So moderator, we can open up WebEx. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If any member of the public would like to comment, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name, or if you've called in, pressing *3. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I'm not seeing any requests for comment. And just a note, I have received some comment that people are having difficulty hearing board member Claudia. So Claudia, if you could just speak a little louder or move closer to your computer, that would be appreciated. Thank you. And with that, we'll return it back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Did you all have any additional comments, committee members, before we go to the next topic? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item 7. Members, the next item on our agenda is discussion and consideration on the notice to how to file a complaint. Now I'm just going to note right off the top here that this is specific to people who work in a pharmacy. This is not a public facing. I think that's really important to understand as we have this conversation. So I'm just going to flag that right up front. Assembly Bill 1503 established a requirement for a chain community pharmacy to post in a prominent place for pharmacy personnel a notice that provides information on how to file a complaint with the board. To clarify, this is a notice for pharmacy personnel, not consumers. We all thought it was very important. We're saying it multiple times. Members, you may recall that as part of the board's discussion on implementation of AB 1503 related to this notice requirement, the board referred the drafting of a sample notice to this committee. The sample notice is included in attachment 5. You will note that the draft notice provides information about how to file a complaint with the board while also providing a reminder about the board's dedicated email address to receive notifications regarding conditions that may present harm as defined in the law. The sample notice also includes a few QR codes. The QR code on the top of the notice would take them to the board's webpage where they can find the complaint form and an FAQ on the complaint process. The address is included on the notice, letting licensees know where to mail their complaints. The second QR code at the bottom takes the individual to the pharmacy's board's pharmacy law page. This notice is a sample that pharmacies can use. However, the pharmacy can choose to develop their own as well. As a reminder, the legal requirement to post a notice took effect on January 1st, 2026. I am hopeful the sample notice provides licensees with a general understanding of how to comply with the new requirement. Members, do you have any feedback?
My only feedback was to be like very explicit. And I mean, I do like at the top, your voice is important, but I also felt that maybe just the top should say how to file a complaint with the California Board of Pharmacy. So, you know, like just anyway, but it sounds like if they can develop their own, you know, I mean, it's not huge. I just feel like it helps from a distance to see what that is. So, but otherwise, I think it's good. It does make sense that it's for staff because I was going to question the pharmacy law book for the public. So,
yeah, when I wasn't thinking that it was for pharmacy staff when I first looked at it, and I was like,
Yes.
this is way too much. And yeah, so
Yes.
that's why it was emphasized.
Yes.
But yeah, I really like that it includes the link to the law book. I think that was really helpful. I don't think people are required to have that. Correct me if I'm wrong from the hearing room. I don't think that's a requirement, but I found it very helpful. I really like that. All right.
Yes, yeah,
Go
it's a
ahead.
sample notice, but we can make the change that Renee discussed. Instead of your voice is important, we can change that. We may also want to like massage the language about the pharmacy law book and probably say scan here for a compilation of relevant pharmacy laws or something along those lines.
Sounds good. Yeah, overall, I think it fits the bill though. Any additional comments from members? Okay, I think we're ready to take public comment. Moderator, we're ready for a public comment from individuals participating via WebEx.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If any member of the public would like to comment, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name, or if you've called in, pressing *3. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, this is a moderator. I see no requests at this time. I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. Committee members, any last comments? Okay, I think we're ready to move on to the next agenda item. Next on our agenda is the update on the communication and public education activities by staff. Here to give us a report is Public Information Officer Sarah Jurens.
All right, thank you very much. For the script, a new issue of the script newsletter was released in November. It can be found on the board's website. It focuses on new laws and regulations, inspection report findings, and articles on why technology isn't a replacement for the role of the pharmacist and the importance of patient consent forms. Next week, a special edition newsletter on Assembly Bill 1503 will be released. This special edition is similar to the special edition of the AB 1286 newsletter. It is designed to help identify and educate licensees on the pharmacy law changes included in the bill. Moving on to staff outreach. Next, we have staff outreach activities in attachment number 6. There's a list of dates and locations where these presentations took place. These presentations cover multiple topics, including updates and pharmacy law. And for our news media inquiries, they're located in attachment number 7. And then for social media, staff met with the DCA communications team and discussed options on how to increase the board's presence to stakeholders. It is important to note that while social media may increase the board's visibility and engagement with stakeholders, establishing I can't say it, and maintaining official social media accounts also present several challenges and risks that should be considered. Social media platforms often generate public comments or messages that may include complaints, misinformation, or inappropriate content. The board would need to clear policies and procedures to address moderation, records retention, and compliance with public records and open meeting laws. Finally, information on social media can easily be misinterpreted or taken out of context. This may increase the risk of harm or the spread of inaccurate information. For these reasons, the board would need to carefully define the purpose, scope, and limitations of any social media presence before moving forward. The board has the option of Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Knowing the goal of what the board would like to achieve will help determine which platform to use. For example, Facebook has an older user base. Instagram is more visual or graphic content, or has graphic content, and LinkedIn has a more professional user base. If the goal is consumer outreach, Facebook and Instagram may be more appropriate. I do note that while Facebook and Instagram are free, LinkedIn does have a cost to it, and as LinkedIn Premium would be required. And after further direction from the committee and board, staff will develop recommended parameters for consideration at a future meeting. And post-implementation, DCA has staff who can assist with analytics to improve marketing and understanding the user experience for the Board of Pharmacy's social media. That includes the report for communication and public education activities by staff.
Thank you so much, Sarah. So bringing the conversation back to committee members, yeah, Claudia, I see your hand. You were the one who brought up, using social media. So do you want to start us off? Do you have thoughts?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to clarify too for Sarah. I think we also have a Twitter account. I just looked it up. So I think what you were telling us is that Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn are the ones that we would need to activate.
That's correct.
Okay, so we currently don't have any parameters around how we use Twitter. Or the
Well,
content we put there?
currently we use Twitter to do the announcements and like we'll post when we have our newsletter release, things like that. We don't have a lot of activity from Twitter.
So let me just, I think that as this committee has actually done some discussion, I think it's helped us as staff recognize that we probably don't have some of the infrastructure in place that we should. So we need to address that. Unlike a lot of other state agencies, we, I believe, have an easy way to communicate with our licensees because they are required by law to be in our subscriber alert system. So part of the reason that we're kind of reaching out is to kind of get a better understanding of where the committee and the board would like to go, recognizing that we have some risks that we're definitely going to have to flush out. And, the department identified some, and I think council, is available to answer questions as well. I don't know that we had necessarily evaluated some of the current risks and then those that would be expanded upon if we extend our reach in the social media space. If I could just call out one other thing, like a dynamic that we're starting to see a little bit is with the advent of AI, we're actually seeing engagement, different kinds of engagement from consumers, at least through AI. So I'm not quite sure if we're the only board that's starting to see that, but wanted to just also call that out.
What can you elaborate on? I'm not sure what you mean by the use of AI. Is there any cases in particular you
So
can?
the one that I'm aware of, Claudia, right now is we are, and I'm waiting for some final data on it, but
Mhm.
we have experienced a significant increase in the number of consumer complaints that we are receiving. And we believe that it is because you can now go in and say, how do I file a complaint? And AI will tell you how to do it. Does that make sense?
Oh, so that's just, I mean, but we don't know if they're valid complaints. I guess that's what you're saying through the use of AI. We don't know those are valid, or is it just people are getting easier access to information?
So this is Anne. So when I'm saying in 250 is going to get you a really lousy cup of coffee, right? But what I would say is that we don't know whether or not they're valid because we haven't done investigations, or
Right.
maybe we've done some, right? So, we go through the investigative
Mhm.
process. But it does appear that people have access to information maybe in a different fashion than they have historically. And I think that that's one of the byproducts of, some of the AI that's out there. Whether or not it's legitimate information is not for me to say. But I would say that it does seem like, if nothing else, awareness about the board is maybe increasing through the use of tools like AI.
Yeah. Yeah, and in terms of like, social media, I think I think it's important to look at the risk, but also if we can get some feedback from DCA in terms of the missed opportunities. I think having those two perspectives and, other boards that have done it successfully, and any guidelines they're using to kind of mitigate the risk. I know our board is unique because we have many different types of licensees and our stakeholders are very wide and broad. So I think for this board, how do we segment our messaging and who are our stakeholders? I guess it's like where are the pain points that we can maybe provide some support through these social media channels, if any? Or is it just that we exist and then now people know that we're there? Because like as Anna's alluring, the more we become present on social media, these language models are going to pick us up and they're going to integrate that information. So is that a bad thing or a good thing for consumers? I think this is something that we can maybe have another dialogue around. And is that something that maybe we should talk in
Yeah.
terms of like the use of AI? I mean, is that something that we should address separately than social media? Sounds like it.
Oh, well, Claudia, like some of the things that some of the other boards are doing to make sure that they have good presence is they're limiting social media to just one-way information posting only.
Yeah,
And so they're prohibiting like the interactive features such as
right.
comments and replies and DMs. And that really is important because for like PRAs and record retention, we
Mm-hmm.
have to keep those things or we have to respond to them and we could be liable if we don't respond. But
Right.
those are some of the other things. They're also requiring documentation, retention, and moderation compliance. Because we're a state agency, we have to be ADA compliant as
Mm.
well. So when we're posting things on social media, we have to make sure we meet a whole list of other requirements. So I think your idea of continued discussion is good, but some of the parameters that some of the other boards have already started to put in is to ensure that we minimize the risks to the board.
Yeah, and then just even like, places like LinkedIn. I know we're going to go into more detail, but it just occurred to me that there has to be also like a process if we activate LinkedIn, because I would love to put LinkedIn and say I'm part of the board as my job role, even though I'm a public servant, but also to see who are the staff members, because I use that professionally. But then we will have to make sure that everybody that says that they work for the board actually works for the board. So there's other risk factors too, right? So I think this could be like a very lengthy conversation. So I'm okay with just taking our time and doing it right, and getting feedback from the board as well. I don't know if Nicole, you have any feedback or next steps?
I was just going to ask, like, I know it's work, but if there's a possibility to do more than one location. I don't feel particularly strongly about Instagram, but I feel like Facebook gives us a more consumer facing and LinkedIn would give us a more professional facing. Maybe not every post goes on both. And if that's too much, then I think we start with one, but would that be a possibility?
If it's okay, once we kind of understand, kind of where you want us, like what is the problem that we're trying to solve? And it sounds to me like it is consumer facing, right? We already have a way to communicate with licensees. So understanding, that the goal is to improve our outreach to consumers, and our messaging to consumers. I think we can take that back, and try to brainstorm what that might look like. And honestly, some of it might not be social media, right? It might be different ways to engage with people. There's a lot of consumer groups out there, and maybe that's a way to be engaging that maybe doesn't create some of the risks that might be associated with other things. And Claudia, I just want to say thank you so much for like calling out, right, the challenges that might present itself with LinkedIn, because we already have problems with individuals pretending to be inspectors and trying to gain access to pharmacies and everything. So I really, really appreciate that you like called out that risk. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I think this is why I think I mean, obviously the staff is going to do a great job just brainstorming, but I think just looking at all the advantages and disadvantages, like in my network, when I told the public that I became a public board member, I have a few thousand people that follow me. So, in terms of me giving credibility to the board and highlighting the board within the state, for other stakeholders, I think we missed that opportunity. So there's also some misses there. But I think protecting the public is what we should really be focusing on. Is this gonna really, how is it gonna impact the public, to Anne's point, right? Are we gonna have people impersonating inspectors and potentially putting people in danger? So I'm with you. It's kind of a sensitive topic, but we'll get through it.
Yeah, I agree that the main, oh, Renee, please jump in.
Okay, warning, I'm going to take this a slight different tangent.
Go for
But
it.
I do, I would say that my primary focus personally would be how to increase information to the public, the consumers. And I think we're somewhat dialed in with a lot, we have a lot of resources and emails with the licensees. And there's room for improvement, but I think there's really a lot of room for improvement for consumers. But I also I feel like some of these social media, I think there's a certain demographic, certain language, certain maybe possibly, I don't know, let's just say socioeconomic group who spend a lot more time on it than others. I don't know. Maybe I'm making this up, but I feel like that's not going to be as global for all the diversity in California. I don't know. I don't really know who's on all of social media, but I think I think Anne had said, one possibility is, just some consumer groups, and also looking into that for, being able to reach a really wide swath of people. So I just don't know how targeted. I feel like some of the social media is fairly targeted, and might really might be a lot of effort and still missing a lot of the public. Anyway, I don't know that for sure, but just what it feels like a little bit. And then I feel like it was brought up at another meeting, but so we still have on here that it's Twitter, but it's X. And just, I know there's a lot of presence on there, but I know that there's a lot of people have left it as well for various reasons, right? So I'm also just wondering if we want to rethink that, if we're going to be on something that we don't have much, like you said, there's not much interaction with it, even though it sounds like that's an option, but maybe, I don't know, maybe just looking at that in the whole picture, if we should remain on X, in addition or at all. So just some thoughts.
Can I just follow up?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
So, for example, just looking back at at our agenda of communication and education campaigns, where are we deploying those then? If it's not through social media, like what is? I know we have the ability to. I guess we're just saying we're sending all these campaign and communications just through the emails we have for those individuals that subscribed, right? So it's all internal. And I think the opportunity here is how do we communicate to the external stakeholders that haven't signed up or registered with us? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah. So sometimes, Claudia, it's kind of depending on what the campaign is about. So when we've done like consumer education campaigns, like we did one when we were doing the notice to consumers, or when there's like consumer patient safety week, those kinds of things. So we're using our subscriber alert, we are using our Twitter, but we're also doing outreach to, like, depending on what the topic is, other agencies. So we might be partnering with DCA or other healing arts boards or those kinds of things. So we're trying to leverage the outreach that they have as well, if that makes sense. But I think that, like I said earlier, like this discussion has really kind of like, at least internally, we're trying to think about what are the different ways that we can expand our reach beyond what we currently have in place.
Yeah, and just from my experience, when I was in the osteopathic medical board, one of the issues we were facing is there's a lack of physicians nationwide. So part of the conversation was, okay, well, we see this trend where we need more doctors. How do we engage the next generation? So, thinking about kind of like our licensee holders and kind of our vision for the future, is this the start of us communicating with the stakeholders and trying to also build that pipeline of new licensees? I don't know if that's helpful for our board. I guess that's some of the discussions I think would be great for us to have collectively.
I definitely agree with everyone that outreach to the public is paramount, that's the thing we need the most. But I do want to flag one thing, is that try to say this as nicely as possible, but I think most licensees don't find the communication from the board or the board in general to be very fun, sexy. I don't know what word you want to use, but I think there's maybe an opportunity with social media targeted at licensees for the board to be somewhat less threatening, that they are more willing to reach out to us and use our resources. So that's why I don't want to necessarily exclude licensees just because we get communications. The communication is pretty straightforward. It's pretty dry. It's very helpful, and that's what we need to do our jobs. But is there a way for people to feel a little bit more connected to the board, less intimidated by us, more willing to use us and work with us, which I think ultimately benefits consumer protection as well. So if there's a way that we can do both, prioritize consumers, but if we could manage to do both, I think that would be ideal. And I know LinkedIn is separate, but if I'm not mistaken, I believe Facebook and Instagram are owned by the same company. So I think you can just post to both at the same time if we came up with the rules. So just, and I could be wrong. I don't know a lot about this, but I think Instagram maybe skews slightly younger. So we might get a slightly broader demographic if we did that. So I'd be interested in hearing what you all come up with. I'm very interested in the consumer groups and things like that. I hadn't thought of that, but I think that's a really great idea, but I don't have a really great idea of what that looks like. So I would love to hear more information. Other committee members, any other thoughts? Yes, Claudia.
And I think around the topic of AI, I think, AI is definitely something that a lot of people are afraid of because we don't really know what it's capable of doing, but it could also be a tool that we can use internally. So having the conversation of the potential downside, but also the potential upside of understanding AI and using it, and maybe using it internally. So I don't know if where do we bring that conversation? Is it part of social media? or do we have a whole separate conversation around that? I think we can keep it around social media, and because the language models are picking up our social media. So if we're not present, then we're also missing an opportunity, because when they look for the board, anything that we put online is going to be verified by us. And it's teaching these language models. So yeah, we should look into AI and how we can take advantage of it as well.
Another something
Another-
else to do, right?
Yeah, just another topic. Oof. But I appreciate the effort, really. This is great.
Yes, this is very helpful. And I'm sorry, I didn't mention this before. I totally agree with making it a one-way communication. I would turn off comments and all of those things right off the bat. I think I definitely agree with doing that, because that gets way too complicated. All right. Any other comments? Ricardo, I hope we haven't left you out here.
No,
Everything
I'm
good?
here. I'm just listening.
I don't think you were here when we started this conversation, so you're just coming
yeah,
into
it was before, but I was chairing that for 8 years, so I understand the subjects. But if AI is very interesting, and I'm not all that familiar with it myself. But maybe we can have somebody from our own department come out and explain to us what its capabilities are. Give us some education on it. Maybe that might help. I don't know. To Claudia's point, there, we're it's a whole new frontier here. So let's figure out if it can actually help us, and have somebody explain it to us. At least those who aren't that familiar with it.
Yeah.
My brain goes to, when we talk about AI, people using it and getting medical advice that could be wrong, like using it in place of a pharmacist. So I'm kind of the opposite. Like, should we be having a campaign to encourage people to speak to a pharmacist and not to use AI? I don't know how accurate it is. So some
Well,
more
yeah,
information I think would be helpful.
Yeah, I would think liability wise, giving maybe misinformation or there was an error or something. It's always nice to have an actual pharmacist do that.
Yeah.
To Ricardo's point, to have somebody come and give us like a take on AI or how it could be used. Is there still a California Technology Department or Department of Technology that kind of like understands like the whole state and how they're setting up the different structures? Do you guys know?
Yeah, so I do believe that there is a State Department. We're taking notes, and some action items. I'm not quite confident whether or not we could get a presentation, but we are making some notes. So, we'll try to do what we can.
It might even be an in-house, a tech individual who's very knowledgeable. We have some great staff here at the Pharmaceutical Board, and maybe we have somebody there who give us a brief, a framework of what we can and can't do with AI.
Yeah, and I just looked it up. So we do have the California Department of Technology. It looks like Liana Bailey is the state CIO and director. So since this is, we're a board under the DCA, and then this leads up to the state. I mean, if we can get somebody from that department to come and talk to us or assess our needs. I do see here on their website, they do have LinkedIn, X, and YouTube as their social media. So maybe even providing some guideline on how they're using it, that could be helpful as well.
That's a good point.
So yeah, just some additional information there. But I think understanding where the state is heading and then how we can leverage potentially even some of their resources or information. So that's
Great.
it.
That was a great discussion. Thank you. Any committee members, any further comments? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to turn to the moderator to open it up for public comment via WebEx.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If any member of the public would like to comment, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name, or if you've called in, pressing *3. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, this is a moderator. I see no, I almost spoke too soon. We have request for comment from a call in by the number 7604 and then 45. You should be able to unmute.
Hello, my name is Chasney Johnson, Pharmacy Technician 106559, located in Oceanside, California. I think it's a great idea that the Board of Pharmacy has social media. When I had social media, it was fun following all the emergency room doctors in California. Having the Board of Pharmacy on social media will kind of normalize pharmacy as a profession and maybe promote more participation during meetings instead of just using it to broadcast a job position. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you for your comment.
All right, this is a moderator. I see no further requests for public comments. So Madam Chair, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. Members, any final comments on this topic before we move on? Okay, we can move to our last agenda item, which is future meeting dates. Thank you everyone for your time and participation. We have a proposed meeting date of June 10th, 2026, but please check the board website for the exact meeting dates for the Communication and Public Education Committee meeting. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for your time.